Swientist program is an educational outreach program that we have going that's targeted towards youth swine exhibitors. At least that's where we started, and the idea is trying to teach biosecurity practices, ways that kids can keep their pigs healthy and also keep themselves healthy. To us, we think educating the kids is the future, and so if we can educate the kids, then we've got a future ahead of us, and we can make those changes over time. So as we're thinking about biosecurity in the show environment, it's different than what we think about in commercial swine. And I think we hear a lot of conversation about like, oh, well, there's just no biosecurity in the show pig industry, right? And you're right, we're not showering in, we're commingling pigs, we're doing a lot of the things that we wouldn't normally do. So if we think about heading to the show, there's definitely things you could do before you go to the show, and one of those might be, look at my animals and critically evaluate, are they healthy, right? Not only am I taking them to the show, they're gonna commingle. That has big ramifications. We know in our studies of influenza, we see the same virus kind of proliferate through the show season. And so if you can keep the sick animals at home, and I know you've got a lot invested in it, but when that day comes, really give them a good eye over before you go. Obviously, you're going to have a health certificate for most shows. If you're crossing state lines, you certainly would. But I know there could be some gaps in there from when the vet actually saw it and to the day you're leaving. And so, but protect the entire industry. Like if I take something sick and it passes it around, then everybody's got it. It's to that idea. Like one of the activities we're doing here today is we're teaching kids how to don and doff PPE, how to look at sick pigs, how to take their temperature, what signs to look for. And they're all the kind of things that we know raising pigs, but it's important that we practice those things before we hit the road. Yeah, so during the show, we're trying to limit spread the best we can, and so we've worked with a lot of show organizers to try to limit how much time the pigs are at the show. And so, that's one of those that the less time they're there, the fewer opportunities we have for pathogens to mix and mingle. And if it's like a county fair setting, that's less time that we might have amplification of a pathogen that might transmit to people. And so, I understand that, lots of times we want the pigs there for the week or whatnot, but there's a lot of good data to support trying to limit that amount of time. And so you see lots of shows taking on those sorts of things. As we're at the end of the show, we're getting ready to leave. The idea that we can clean and disinfect some stuff before we ever hit the road. I'd like to leave the pathogens that we might have come into contact with at the show, and I don't want to bring those back to the home farm. Right, so if I have the opportunity to clean and disinfect the stuff before we get out of there, let's do that. Let's take that opportunity. Lots of shows are setting up disinfecting stations. You can do that before you head out. And then when you come home, obviously you're going to keep the animals as isolated as you can. You want to try to keep them away from other pigs you have at home. You're not bringing something back to them. So if there's any way that you can get them in a different spot, a different barn would be ideal, but at least not nose to nose. And you really want to watch those pigs to make certain that they don't develop some sort of sign of disease. And if they do, you're going to have to really work with your veterinarian, A, to minimize transmission to other pigs in your barn, and B, so you don't take them onto another show when they're still in the middle of a disease outbreak. All right, so as we're thinking about certificate of veterinary inspection, also known as health papers, I know it can be an inconvenience, but it really is a critical tool for us, not only trying to make certain the animals are healthy, but it gives us a chance to be able to track animal movements and try to understand where diseases might go. If we get an outbreak and we have to try to figure out where pathogens have come from or where they've gone to, the system of a certificate of veterinary inspection is critical to us. And so as we're getting out there doing a certificate of veterinary inspection, we really need to work with our clients to help them understand, hey, this is an important deal. This is good for this period of time. This is what I'm certifying, and we can teach them how to do some of those pre-trip inspections. Look over the animals, those sorts of things. But as we felt the CVI, really need to make certain we're getting the appropriate statements on the CVI. We need to, if we need an import permit, get those in place. If we're going through sales, all those sorts of things. There's the proper procedures, and we need to make certain we're doing those, even if it's a little bit of inconvenience. This is our responsibility to do that right. Value of the show industry, as we see all these kids out here today, and all summer long, and really year-round, showing pigs, showing all sorts of livestock. I think there's a lot of value to we're developing youth in being good, decent human citizens. We're teaching them how to care for other things. The life lessons that they're learning, showing animals, raising animals, camaraderie, competition, all those sorts of things are built here. But as we think about agriculture, right, like where's the next generation of ag leaders going to come from? The kids who are going to fall in love with agriculture and be our next generation of ag leaders are these kids, right? And so maybe it's only a few pigs that they're raising at home, but you don't know where they're going to end up. I think we as an industry, we really need to think about like where's the next generation going to come from, and there's probably a bunch of them right here in the barn today.